All right, welcome back to the Getting Naked series, I guess. Is this like a beer business application series about getting naked? Again, as I mentioned,
having
a book that we started reading. I feel like we should call this like Brita told us to get naked. Like maybe we should do that on the title just for clickbait.
Should we take a layer off?
At least a layer off. So okay, so on the last video we talked about
CRM strip poker.
Right, strip pockers. Yeah. On the last video we talked about fear number 1, which was fear of losing the business. Now it comes to fear number 2.
Did anyone lose the business since we talked?
I don't know. I wonder if anyone did. But fear number 2 is the fear of being embarrassed. All right, the fear of being embarrassed. And this is what I wrote. It says, in order to better help a client, we need to be willing to ask questions and make suggestions, even if those questions and suggestions could turn out to be laughably wrong. We have to be able to do that.
Sure.
I also wrote, customers come to trust us because they know we will not hold back our ideas, mistakes, or edit ourselves in order to save face. So we just come out there, we make suggestions, ask stupid questions, and again, that might be connected to the idea of fear of losing the business. Like you don't want to sound like you're an idiot, right? Because you're asking all these questions. But what I found is that in a lot of cases, when you ask these questions, like somebody throws an acronym out there, if they're on a specific industry, like we were just talking to a guy that is on the mining industry, and he was talking about all these problems that he's having with mining and using all these acronyms. I'm like, whoa, like, what does that mean? And then he's like, oh, that is, I think it was excavations per truck or something. He started telling me about all these acronyms, right? And like, you have to be able to ask. Like, I'm 100% like not afraid of asking any question, even if it sounds stupid. What do you guys think about that?
100%. Yeah, so often on the start of a project, they'll say, overwhelm me with documentation. Just send it to me. I'll find time to read it. And often there'll be acronyms or there'll be phrases. They'll talk about another project in there.
Documentation.
The baby making project, or whatever the project, whatever it is. So
right.
then when I'm doing the workshop, so then I'll do the workshop. So I was like, so you mentioned the baby making project. What's that? And often they'll go, I don't know. I've never heard of that. And it was written 5 years ago by someone that's totally forgotten. But if you don't ask the questions, you find out, oh no, well that's a key project, and that's going to come in 3 months, and therefore we've got to implement these technologies. You have to ask those questions. You got to. Especially if you don't know the industry, you can only fake that for so long, right? You got to say, okay, look, you know your industry better than I do. I know CRM, you know your industry. Hey. Overwhelm me. Tell me what you need to know.
Some of us can fake it for a long time.
Well, I mean, like for me, for example, and sometimes it's interesting because like it even happens on like RFPs or whatever. Like you're trying to get the business, and sometimes I'll be talking to the person on the other side, and they make a comment like the XYZ team wants to do their process through CRM. And then I'm like, well, what's the XYZ team? And they're like, what's the XYZ? Come on. It's like, hold on, let me find out for you. Like they didn't even know, and they worked for the company. So they will go back and then they'll translate it and be like, okay, now that makes sense. That is the whatever team. And so I have no problem asking dumb questions or making dumb suggestions. So those are kind of the principles of that fear. Is number 1 is ask dumb questions. So he says, ask the questions that others in the room are afraid to ask out of fear that they would embarrass themselves. So I try to do that. Like I'm kind of like, if I don't know it, there's a chance that someone here doesn't know it either. So I'm gonna go and ask.
Another common example is they'll use the word account, or they'll use the word lead, and
entity.
They'll use entity. They'll use these words.
Yeah.
And we come to it with our own baggage and assume an account means a company. Right? And then we find out, no, an account is someone that we've already done business with, or cause it's from our accounting system, or whatever. So you got to ask those questions to just say at least you have a common language with the other person. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. What's a case? What's an account? What's a contact? You have to understand those things. But if they're using it in their documentation, and you go, well, okay, workflow. Using the word workflow like I'm using the word workflow.
Exactly.
We're both speaking English, but it's a different kind of English.
Exactly. Yeah. That reminds me, when I first started my career, I was so afraid to ask questions. I'll be the one sitting there, everyone, working as if they know what they're doing, and like looking so confident.
I like the words as if.
Well,
they don't necessarily know what they're doing.
I'll tell you why. I'm sitting there going, oh man, I just started. I have no clue what I'm doing. And I don't want to ask those stupid questions because they might look at me funny and think, why are we paying you to ask those questions?
Yeah.
Those are the trivial
Shouldn't you know
questions.
this already?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, I gradually, sometimes they would be going at a tangent. I'm like, that doesn't sound quite right. And I would, have the courage to go and say, for the stupid person in that room, can you please explain what you mean by X and Y? And then my seniors would look at me and were like, yeah, what do they mean?
Please
And-
explain to
and-
Rami and with a pen ready to take notes.
Exactly.
Explain to him. He doesn't know.
And
Yeah.
that was
This
really
guy.
Yes.
eye-opening for
Please.
me. Exactly. And I slowly gained confidence to actually go and ask those questions.
Yeah.
And as I matured and became a little bit more seasoned.
Your questions becoming stupider and stupider
Yes.
as you mature.
But the thing is that
CRM, what's that CRM? Are we speaking the same CRM?
Is it the same?
What CRM stands for?
For both of us? Yeah.
but what happened is that the roles were reversed. So I became the senior, and I was looking at the juniors sitting around the table,
Waiting
And
for
I-
them to ask you a
And,
question.
and I was waiting like, ask
Come
the
on,
question.
dude.
No. Send them a
No,
text.
you ask.
No, but then I realized that hang on, there's a concept in here that I might be familiar with, but the others are not. So
Right.
I'll make even though I know what the answer is, I'll make it a point, and I'll go and ask the question, what do you guys mean by that? And then as they explain it, I'll be like, all right, well, you're preaching to the choir, or I know what it is. But then I realized that the others around the table will be like, oh, right, okay, so this is what they meant. And then they start taking notes. So yeah, I mean, I encourage asking more questions, especially when it comes from the customer. Like, the customer will always ask me, oh, this might be a stupid question. And
Right.
I'm like, from a customer, it's never a stupid question. From us, maybe sometimes, but, let's ask the questions anyway, and better
Yeah.
be, safe than be in doubt.
I had a situation when it wasn't so much a stupid question, and I don't ask questions because I know everything. So, but yeah, but there was a situation where I wanted deliberately to play devil advocate with customer, and I asked we talked for half an hour, and then I said, look, let me ask you just, how silly it could be, but why do you think you need CRM at all in your scenario? Right?
Because stop the record.
Yeah, because I can design a solution for you that doesn't involve CRM at all. And that was it turned out to be a really good move. It was a risk that customers said, oh really, thank you very much.
Exactly.
But it was a risk that actually paid off for me, because customers turned around and they explained to themselves, by explaining to me, they explained to themselves why do they want and need CRM. So, yeah, we could do that, but then we wouldn't have a history of communication with the customer. That's what we want to keep. And yeah, so in the end of the day, yeah, we totally doing CRM, and CRM becomes a master data storage.
Yeah.
Turns out to be played well because they didn't know where they want to
Sometimes
keep master
asking
data.
dumb questions become really good suggestions, and that goes to number 2, which is make dumb suggestions, right? Make suggestions that might seem dumb, knowing that you're putting yourself in a position to be embarrassed. But because there is a risk for maybe you get it right. Like this happened to me. I did an implementation for a company that helps people move across the country. Like if you're a professor from Los Angeles, need to move to New York because you got a job there or whatever, they'll help you move your whole house or whatever. And I asked him, and it's like, so do you guys follow up after you help people move? And they were like, no. And it's like, well, making a dumb suggestion. I'm like, well, what if we did? What if we followed up with them? And it's like, well, but we already helped them move, so who cares? And it's like, well, I don't know about you, but if I move to another city, I'm less likely to buy a house right up front. I'll probably rent for a year or two, and then I'll buy a house if I'm gonna stay and now
Or move again.
once I know the place. Yeah, so why don't we wait 9 months after we help somebody move, and then we let Dynamics send an email out and be like, hey, how is it going? Do you like the move? Are you happy where you're at?
Do you need a mortgage?
Settled? Yeah, are you getting settled, etc. And the revenue went up 20-something% just because people would respond back and be like, yeah, the movie's going great. I actually bought a house. Can you help me move? And it would help them move within the same city, but this was extra revenue they weren't even thinking about. And for me, it was a dumb suggestion. What if we just send them an email automatically 9 months later and see what happens? It was a dumb suggestion that became a lot of money for them. So it was free for them to get 20-something% up in revenue in the next year. But what do you guys think about making dumb suggestions? Because the other thing is like most of the suggestions that you will make are in fact dumb. Like they really don't work for anything. But people don't remember those, right? They'll remember the ones that hit.
Here's the dumb question for you guys.
All right.
Do you ever, because this question, some customers, particularly in small space, like in SM space, they do make those kind of advances. Since we're talking naked, they do make those advances and offer you to enter a revenue share.
Ooh.
Yeah? So like with your scenario, okay guys, we like your suggestion, so how about that? You do work for free, but if it pans out, you get 30% of all the increase of the...
That would be awesome. I'll be all over
No.
that. It would be like investing on a startup, kind of, you know?
Yeah. But it comes out all the time, and I always shy away from those. Been burned a couple times, shy away because this is not my core business. I don't know jack about moving business. I would never invest into that. Not because I don't see it as a profitable business, because that's not my core. They can stuff up my good suggestion in so many ways, and things can go wrong in so many ways down the track that even though my suggestion would have been good in perfect scenario, right? They got the manager who was a dumbass and stuffed it up completely, and they lost money on that.
Good
so
point.
I just did a work for free.
Yeah.
Right, and they stuffed it up down the track, and it didn't work. Not because my whatever I did didn't work. It did. It just the business went down for regardless.
Are there any
I'm
dumb
just
suggestions you guys have made in the past that played out to be great things?
Many, and it comes to what you were saying before about solutioning, right? So often the client knows their business problem and they know enough to make themselves dangerous, and they'll say, we need to put this in. And so they'll have an idea of how they need to solve it in CRM. And a poor consultant will say, oh, well, clearly they know all the options, so I'll just go with their suggestion, they know the business better. You make the dumb suggestions. Right? You say, oh yeah, that's great, we could use connections, or we could use a tick box. Just have a tick box of it, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we never even considered a tick box. Oh yeah, no, that's a lot easier, and we can also do advanced find easier, we can do reporting, so on and so forth. Sometimes it just doesn't occur to them to go down that path. So you make the dumb suggestions just to rule out all the possibilities. That happens a lot. If you're doing your job right, that happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some times that I'll make suggestions and like I miss out on, something like legal related. Like I'll make a suggestion and be like, well, why don't we, when we close the deal, report to that other team so they can cross-sell? And be like, because we'll all go to jail. Like that's illegal.
Sure.
You can't really. I'm like, okay, well that was a dumb suggestion. Like
one of those scenarios
I have to make it.
Listen to this. What he has to say.
Somebody just laugh.
And you listen.
Exactly. That's kind of how it goes. But you have to make those suggestions. Like you just have to do it. On the book, it's interesting because they talk about how there was this like consultant trying to help these guys grow a business, right? And these guys are at a point where they're like struggling to get over, like they cannot grow it anymore. And then this consultant, like out of the blue, makes a dumb suggestion, which is like, have you guys thought about going public? And the people are like looking at him like, kind of like you said, like, oh, look what he said. And then it's like, well, because I've worked with other businesses that typically when they're about this size, they think about going public. And then the guys looked at each other and it's like, that's right, why don't we go public? And like later that year, they IPO, they went public and the company blew up. So it was one of those dumb suggestions where they were working about like, what else can you tell me so I can grow my business, like marketing wise, where can I invest? And then this suggestion out of the blue, like, how about you go public? That's exactly what they needed, right? They never even thought about that. So that one is interesting. So the third thing they talk about to get over this fear number 2, which is the fear of being embarrassed, if you remember, is celebrate your mistakes. Now, they're not talking about like, if you make a mistake, like, yeah, high five people, like, no. But they're just saying like, don't hide or downplay your errors, call them out and take responsibility for them, right? If you made a mistake, it was my mistake, I'm gonna fix it, like just take ownership essentially
100%,
for it.
100%.
Yeah.
Tell it all, tell it fast.
But how
exactly.
you work as a consultant, how you balance admitting that you made a mistake, but going strongly against emotion where a customer say, you made a mistake, you fix it, and it's free, it's on you. How you go about that?
That's what you do.
And sometimes that goes back to having those ugly conversations and stepping into the fire like we talked about before, right?
How are you going to invoice for that?
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, you can't invoice for that.
Right.
You
But
can't
that's the
invoice to
same.
fix it.
It's so dangerous. It's saying basically what you're saying. If a developer creates a bug, they have to fix it for free.
Oh, no, hang on. So there's warranty and those aspects. But if I fundamentally break their data and then I have to go back and do something to fix their data.
So where's your definition of fundamentally from? Just a little bit.
We're entering.
How's it different? Yeah, that's
Contract.
dangerous. No, that's dangerous territory.
If you, this is why businesses get insurance, etc. If you're negligent, if you've done something where I've made.
No, we're not talking about negligence. We're talking about people make mistakes. People do break glass.
Yeah.
You know, accidentally. Things happen. And you know, you're doing what I'm hearing is like you go ahead and you fix it at your own accord, regardless what the cost is. That's not.
So I want you guys.
I'm just telling you.
I want you guys to
working
think.
for big business. Because
I want you guys to
can't afford
think
do that on the small.
Of a mistake that you've made in the past, and that you took ownership of it and celebrated it in a sense. Like told the customer, like this is something I did. I'm gonna fix it, or this is something I did and I'm not gonna fix it, like whatever it is. Can you think about mistakes that you've done in the past in projects that you actually told the customers? Because I think that in some cases you can make a mistake and fix it and the customer won't even notice. But what about those where you maybe made a mistake and then you told the customer about it? And I'm trying to think like for myself about mistakes that I've made, and I've made plenty. I'm not like George that I don't make mistakes. I actually make mistakes. But like I've told the customer, for example, when it comes to one that happens to me a lot is when data integrations are way more complex than I think they are. Sure. So for example, I think about like, I look at your data and it's like, this will take like tops 2 weeks. Like in 2 weeks, we should be good to go. And then I'm 2 weeks or 3 weeks in and I'm like, whoo, that's way worse than I thought. And I have to like admit it, right? I cannot just go back and be like, oh, it would have been 2 weeks if you had really good people working on it, you know? Like you just have to celebrate your mistake kind of thing. Take ownership and be like, this is gonna take longer than I thought, and so be it, right? You just have to bring it.
It happens when when you have technical debt. So you might make the wrong decision and say, oh, it's all right, we'll just do it that way just so that we can deliver. And then down the track, you're like, oh wow, that was a mistake. You shouldn't have done that.
Right.
And you know, coming back to your point, you know, give things for free. Well, if we're giving working things for free, why should we not give, you know, fixed defects for free? Now, typically, what
I thought you're gonna say, give them your mistakes for free.
Free mistakes for everybody. Everybody gets mistakes.
You get mistakes. But you know, typically, what we would have on a project is an exit criteria. So they paid you to have a functional application. If you give them a broken application, they're not gonna pay you. So that is within reason of what we need to fix, even if we have to work.
That's such a gray area.
But if it's like, you know, that
Such a
label
gray
is blue
area.
and it
They're
needs to be
hiring you
red.
and paying you for your time and expertise. What you enter in is dangerous territory of fixed contracts. You give me the app, I'll give you the money. That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Contract warranty periods.
Right,
You can
yeah.
say,
Exactly.
we'll give you a period of time to find all the problems with it, and then we'll fix them. We'll fix all the problems you find in that period of time. You can contract this. You can contain
I guess
it
that's
so that it
that's
meets
where the line
meets the
between
benefits of all
smaller
parties.
operators and the larger companies, because small operators, you're hiring me, you're hiring my labor, you're hiring my time. You know I can do the job. How long will it take? Well, it will take how long will it take?
Yeah.
Right. So, I'll do my
long
best.
as I say.
Yeah, you know me. I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Right. So the
Yeah.
customer kind of on a smaller scale trust. With the bigger companies, yes, we're hiring you not as a labor force. We're not laying the road. Even if we're laying the road, we're paying you to lay the road, not for 25 workers to
Right,
mix concrete, right? So
and you're
so,
right.
so
Like-
you're right. It's kind of we're hiring you to solve our problem.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of
And you do get it wrong in terms of estimation, but luckily we've got tools that can help us with that, like Agile and Scrum, right? So you look at your velocity, how much are we actually progressing? And the good thing about Scrum is that, you know, the customer is part of your team, right? So you've got someone from the customer that is visualizing your
you
progress.
can blame for all your mistakes.
Well,
No.
you know, you can look at your burn down chart and say, well, originally this is what we estimated and this is where we should land. But based on our velocity, we're actually not doing that great, which means, you know, projecting how fast or how slow we're going, this is how long the project is going to take.
A fist fight with Rami, did you catch it on camera?
Let me just say.
Hopefully you caught it on camera because we were fighting over.
Sorry, the camera died, so now we're back and we're trying to get back on track with the conversation we were having.
7 beers later.
I think 7 beers later. By the way, we need refills. We have to get another beer.
Naked during that time.
We got they missed. It was the camera night. Oh well. Anyway, so again, fear number 2, the fear of being embarrassed, as we talked about, is one of those fears that will prevent you from having that relationship with the client.
Oh, here's an interesting aspect, twist on it. Do
Yes.
you want to close on that?
Yeah, let's close on that.
Here's the twist. Do you ever deliberately kind of pitch the "I'm being stupid" ball to the customer so customer can hit it out of the field and feel superior?
Like what? Can you give me an example?
I mean, make them think it's their idea, so then they run with their idea.
Yeah, and make them feel kind of that they know their stuff better than you do, even though you see through
lead
them.
them there.
You lead them there, but you playing stupid deliberately.
Yeah.
Kind of misguided and stupid. You let them to feel kind of knowledgeable
You've got
and
3
superior.
options. You've got the awesome option, and then you've got 2 crazy options. Which one do you want to choose? It's your choice.
Well,
The great
this
one or
is
the
a
2
really
lazy
good
ones?
question. I think we should close on that because fear number 3 kinds of talked about this.
Okay.
So thank you again for watching this video, fear number 2. When we come back, we're gonna tackle the next one. Let's get another beer. You get another beer. We'll see you on fear number 3.